welcome to the latest episode of Gallifrey Pirate Radio, episode 159, where we are going to delve deep within Deep Breath.
Deep Breath.
Deep Breath. But before we get into that,
Sure.
I would like to thank you, BBC, for watching the show. We at least know you're watching. That's awesome. If you ever want us to do anything for you guys, just shoot us an email. We'd love to work with you guys on Doctor Who. But that's it for now, so let's jump into Deep Breath.
You want to jump into Deep Breath rather than go that? Okay.
Yes.
Well, all right.
Well, what did I miss?
The Legacy Capaldi and Jenny.
Oh, yes. Let's see. You can start quickly about that. I'll let you have that.
Okay, so after Deep Breath aired on BBC, the Doctor Who Legacy game posted 3 levels, a easy, a medium, and hard level, where if you succeed, there was a 100% drop where you get the Capaldi Doctor.
And there's an expert level for a 12 plus.
Right, so there's that along in these special areas.
Yeah.
Also, the following day, Jenny's outfit from Deep Breath was available as a code. There's some troubles with it. They released the code again, so you have a couple of days to grab that. But I don't know how long the Series 8 Doctor is going to be up there. Probably a while, considering that...
Oh, no, they're building on this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so.
they've said it's going to keep building. So we know 12 o'clock the following day, each Sunday, Pacific time, we'll get a new episode based on the episode we just watched.
So yeah, I think it's really cool. It looked really good. The enemy is one that's familiar. Let's talk about Deep Breath.
Yes.
Deep Breath. So...
What'd you think?
What did I think? So I like to go by a format that I've seen done once before called the good, the bad, and the ugly. Things that I liked, things that I didn't like, and then things that either I really didn't like, were beyond my control, or confused me. So you want to ask me what I liked about it?
Just like an opening statement.
Opening statement.
Yeah.
Well, if you watch the last episode, you'll say that I didn't like it nearly as much as Davy. Now, after watching it 4 times, twice on Saturday, once on Sunday with my wife, and in the theaters last night with a packed house of Whovians, bravo everyone, and Fathom Events, I can still say that I probably didn't like it as much as Davy. I think it's an excellent episode, but I think it's just in my nature to not have nearly as much raw enthusiasm as you do about anything.
Yeah.
So please keep in mind that when I go over my list of things I didn't like and the things that confused me, I'm not saying I didn't like the episode. I did like the episode. I think it was a very good episode. I just have some problems with it. And I just like, I don't know, maybe analyzing is just how I'm a Whovian. So,
There's nothing wrong with that.
So you want to talk about good stuff, things we liked about it?
Well, I just want to say, I still love it. I've seen it as many times as Drew, if not more. Still love it. I mean, the things I had issues with, I still have issues with it.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I still like. The things I still love, I still love. Like I said in the previous episode, I think Moffat knows how to do a opening story for a new Doctor. Though it's still not as good as the 11th Hour, but I still got to say, I think it was a really good intro story. I mean, it probably goes 11th Hour, Deep Breath, than the others. Out of New Who. I'm not going to count Classic Who in that.
Sure. It's a totally different animal. When we get to the bad, my argument will be the semantics of your sentence in that I don't think it was a very good introduction story, but I think it was a good introduction episode.
Interesting.
Okay? But I want to talk about the things I liked about it.
Okay, go right ahead.
Can I just say bravo to every single actor involved in this episode, and bravo to Ben Wheatley for some amazingly well-directed. I don't think there was a single bad part played, bad actor, with the exception of one of the onlookers in the very opening scene whose direction was scream. Really, at the bottom, if she cuts me for the very first time, she goes, ah! And then looks at the camera and then quickly looks down. Other than that.
Well, I didn't even notice that.
I caught it the very first time. And it falls into a nitpicking thing. But I want to talk about good stuff. The rumor is still just a rumor about Jenna Coleman, whether she's going to be staying with us or not at the end of this season. After this episode, Jenna Coleman, please stay on Doctor Who. I'd have no problem with you being the longest running companion on the show. I think that given that this was essentially her episode, I think she had equal story time with Capaldi. We got to see some real acting chops from her. She's still taking it a mile a minute. She's still, her delivery when we talk about other things that are good, everything else was slowed down for the pacing of this thing, which is something else I really love. She's still going Matt Smith speed.
Yeah.
And I think we'll probably see her tone that down just slightly, maybe, but I guess we're having other shortened episodes.
Yeah.
She did a great job not having her being quote unquote the impossible girl.
Yeah.
Really benefits her character. She can just be a character. I think that she could potentially be the next Sarah Jane Smith.
Well, what I wanted to say was, because we're talking about Jenna, I thought her performance was incredible. I think it's the best she's done so far.
Absolutely.
And her chemistry with Capaldi, I loved.
Yeah.
Because I honestly felt, I kind of had three feelings when I was watching the performance, especially towards the end. I mean, I saw that sort of third Doctor Jo Grant thing, I saw that third Doctor Sarah Jane thing, and I also saw that first Doctor Susan sort of chemistry. You know, they each did something a little different with their doctors, or the same doctor. But I kind of had all those emotions and all those feelings wrapped up into one, and I thought that was really, really nice.
Yeah, to tack on to exactly what you just said, the beginning of this episode, it made me think of Sarah Jane when you have Matt Smith and Jenna Coleman is kind of like Sarah Jane and Pertwee, and then this is going to be more Sarah Jane Tom Baker, where the chemistry is vitally different.
Yeah.
And I still think I like the relationship between Pertwee and Liz Sladen better than Sladen and Baker. I don't know why. I just do. I don't like the stories better. I thought I liked the chemistry. I know there's something about the relationship that really did something for me. And I really liked Jenna Coleman when she first started out with Smith, but as the show progressed and Smith kind of took over that role, I didn't like that relationship as much. I found it to be too flirty.
Yeah.
I think with this relationship, especially the realizations that Coleman comes to, or Clara comes to in this one, I think we're going to get a really, really solid performance. And depending on how the rest of this series goes, I'm really excited. And I know there's some haters out there, but I am not one of them. Ben Wheatley, your direction is awesome. I've not seen a single one of your shows, or movies. So this is the only thing I'm going by, but I thought it was really excellent. I thought you worked very well with the constraints that even a high-budget television program has to go along with. But there's one scene in particular I really need to give you props for, and that is the Who Invented This Room bedroom scene really early on in the episode that was done entirely in one take. I love that when you could do that. I thought it was really well done. Spacing. I know there was one scene that you didn't love, but I think the direction was always good, even if some of the editorial choices were not fantastic.
So anything else good before we move?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Stephen Moffat. We'll talk about your script in a moment, but first I want to talk about your dialogue. Your dialogue is excellent. You know how to write excellent dialogue. It's quick, it's witty, it draws in your audience's attention. The first time I saw this episode, the sound was a little wonky, so I didn't catch a lot of what was being said. Probably one of the reasons I had a semi-negative reaction. But having watched it 4 times, I can say that this is some of the best dialogue that you have written. There's some amazing lines in there. Who frowned me this face? The men are monkeys. What was the other one? And who invented this room? All fantastic. One of the things you have to watch out for with an actor who has a Scottish accent, be careful that your dialogue doesn't fall into Jeff from Coupling, because the independent eyebrow scene sounded exactly like Jeff from Coupling. It's not a bad thing, it's just it took me out of the scene. All right.
Well, see, I didn't even face me because I've never seen it.
Of course, I've never seen it, right, yeah. I have a couple of other things that I really liked about this episode, because I think we should focus on the positive. The special effects in this episode, the costuming and the special effects are astounding.
Okay, it's a period piece. BBC, if there's one thing the BBC does right, it's period pieces.
It's true.
Yeah.
But not everybody in the period was from that period, and that's one of the things, is it tied in the storyline having characters from different time periods.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing, that's what the BBC does well.
Sure.
I mean, I've seen the warehouse of costuming. I mean, they have pins and buttons that don't exist anymore in the military. When it comes to a period piece, no matter when the period is, they're going to get it right every single time.
So scrapping the costumes,
Yeah.
the special effects, especially for Half-Faced Man, were excellent.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the theater experience versus
Yeah.
the viewing experience, we definitely talk about the extra that we see in there. But yeah, bravo on that. And bravo for bringing the mystery shopkeeper who gave Jenna Coleman the phone number back in. That is something I really liked. I thought it was necessary. It was definitely something that irked me when we moved past From Time of the Doctor. So those things in particular.
Well, this
I
is
really,
Moffat.
really
Moffat's
dug.
good for telling the big story.
He is, but Moffat sometimes gets hooked on small little details and misses some of the bigger story arcs. He can let some of these things go. I know Moffat has said in the past that we need to be able to fill in the blanks sometimes. Well, that's true for a lot of things, but sometimes when you leave something, especially when you have a fan base as continuity frantic as Whovians are, that's something you need to watch out for. So, with 19 minutes remaining in this, do you want to talk about the things that we didn't like? I want to talk to you. Is there anything that you liked that I didn't mention?
No, I think you covered it. I mean, I like this, like you said before, I liked it more than you. As long as I'm entertained and I have fun with something, I'm good to go.
Sure.
And I pretty much had a fun round from start to finish. Like I said, this is the best use of the Paternoster game I've ever seen. I would actually, using this, I could see this being a spin-off pilot. They were spot on. And that beautiful scene where they're rolling out, coming down into the bowels of the spaceship. Oh my God, I was not ready for that. It was just gorgeous.
Yeah, it was
And then Strax trying to do it, and it's like, we told you to use the stairs. I mean, that is perfect.
Yes. Yeah, I have a theory about that, and I'd like to talk about that in the ugly aspect of it. When we were also special effects, bravo on the dinosaur. I like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I think it looked great. It was too big, but we'll get into that in ugly.
But I thought it was cool. I mean, at least the first few viewings, I didn't notice it, but I mean, drools coming off the teeth.
Yeah.
I was impressed by that.
Yeah, no, it was, they really did a great job. It makes me almost fret for seeing future episodes to see how much budget they put in for this one and see if everything else
Here's
is.
the thing is, I don't think they did much. Because when you had Time of the Doctor, you can tell that was filmed for the movies. When you watch this, they did not do anything like that. It was a television show that they projected.
Day of the Doctor or Time of the Doctor?
Day of the Doctor.
Day of the Doctor, okay.
Yeah, I mean, they filmed that for theaters.
Sure.
This was a TV show projected onto the big screen.
And it looked good.
It did look good.
Really well.
There were some problems, which I'll go into, I guess, into my ugly part of this.
Sure.
But, I mean, for the most part, it was extremely well done.
Okay. Bad stuff?
Bad. I only have only one real complaint, and it's the tree. It's a slapstick tree falling down, and the really sort of bad CG we get backdrop where he's on the roofs of London. I mean, I like the scene. I like that scene. I like the dialogue, everything about it. It took me out of the moment just a little on the bigger screen. I sort of noticed it on the small screen, but not like I did on the big screen.
True.
And then the tree fall. I hated every moment of that tree fall. We did not need it. I thought it was, I understand it was there. It was for the kids. It was for the slapstick comedy, but we could have chopped that out. I did not mind the dialogue with the horse. I thought that was good. And honestly, one other thing good, I like that they did not overuse the sonic screwdriver. They actually used it like a sonic screwdriver. I was extremely happy about that.
Didn't even think about it once, and you're absolutely right, that would have gone into the column, having the sonic screwdriver only be used once or twice in the entire story. Absolutely, you're correct. Okay, this is where the part where I start talking a lot. I probably had 2 or 3 hours worth of conversation about this, so we're going to try to condense this into 10 minutes. Moffat, this is the single worst new Doctor Who story plot you've ever had. And again, we've only seen 2 of those. But I think of all new Who episodes, which a new Doctor is in all 3 of them, this is by far and away the worst one. And here's why. No. let me explain what I'm saying.
Yeah, well.
Okay. I thought the character moments was great. I thought the dialogue was written. But I thought that, if you just looked at the story, if this wasn't a regeneration story, if the Doctor appears in Victorian London to find a dinosaur, it burned down, only to find that basically a rehashed plot from a season 2 story came in, and then they saved the day. That's a bad plot.
No, this is, and I want to talk about some predictions and mysteries, but here's the thing. I think it's absolutely brilliant. He's doing something here that I don't think people realize. He gave a reason, or a start to a reason, why that ship was in the future. It's giving there are now 2 ships. There was some sort of accident, some sort of explosion, something. He's building mystery.
Okay, so this is, I did get my caveat to this.
Yeah.
Okay, my caveat to this is, if you later use the Madame de Pompadour and the Marie Antoinette in a future story, that's fine, all right? But I still don't, I think it was a very weak plot to bring it in. But I also understand that were this a 45-minute episode, of course you'd have to have a weak plot, we just care. But the Atraxi and that whole story with 11th Hour is, by itself, a good story.
Oh, it was amazing.
It's an excellent story. And again, Moffat, when you have something as great as the 11th Hour, it's going to be very hard to follow that up. So let me just say, I didn't like the plot. As far as directing is concerned, Whately, there's only one thing I didn't like. I understand that this is a more or less children's show, and showing blood and violence is not allowed. The fight sequence with Strack, Voxer, and Jenny versus the very poorly animated, where they were kind of doing this, and the bad guys were just kind of doing this. It went on too long. I didn't think it was well choreographed, and I didn't feel that there was an actual threat. Strax with a gun should have been able to wipe all those guys off. And if you start talking about, we stabbed them and they fall down and they come back up, that same logic needs to apply to the half-man later on, okay? I think there was a way they could have done that much better and used, and I'm going into my next one, the deep breath aspect. I think the not breathing is great. I've held my breath every single time, all 4 shows. I can get to the second flash of red light before she passes out and before I have to take a breath, which I think is fairly decent. I'm not running around. But I think of an idea that good, it could have been better utilized. I'll give you that. The choreographing in that could have been better, but I think he was shooting with the gun, but they were getting back up. Again, what I'm saying is, choreographing, logic of it, it wasn't really the logic, it was the choreographing. I think they were, their kind of hands were tied with the constraints of tea time television, which wasn't even tea time.
And also I think they didn't realize how it was going to translate on the big screen, how they could have, gone with a wider shot.
True.
I think if they would have gone with some wider shots in that, I think it would have looked better.
I agree.
But that's, again, they might have done wide shots, and it was an editorial thing. We just don't know.
We just don't know. But what I got, I did not like. It took me out every single time.
Yeah.
I had a hard time with 2 aspects of this story, and there's so much I could go into about these. One, and the ugly stuff, I'm not even going to get to right now.
Yeah.
It's so distracting. I get that Clara's argument in the story is that her problem is that the Doctor got old, right? Where do you feel that Clara's problem is? That the Doctor got old, or that she's not used to seeing him regenerate?
No, I think the problem is that she had no problem with the regeneration because she knew about the regeneration. She knows what he all looks like.
Absolutely.
I think the problem was she's never experienced the regeneration and what comes with it.
See, I'm not 100% sure she hasn't experienced the regeneration. This is a character who, and this is another problem I have, Moffat essentially, when he had Clara jump into the Doctor's timeline, even as bad as that was, he essentially put his fingerprints on the entire history of Doctor Who. There was a character who, even though we never saw her, was around all that time. And with that, I feel that there should be a better understanding. I feel that in that sense, Clara being the control freak, the superego, is a proxy for Moffat in that sense. I feel like there's a lot of meta conversation happening in this episode where Moffat is basically using Clara to explain to the audience who he is and who they should be, trying to go, it's okay, he's old now, but he's still the Doctor, right?
See, I don't see that at all. I did not get that at all. It was like, I think she was more worried about the Doctor in his personality. And not so, because he was a total stranger. We haven't seen this sort of regeneration, I would say, since Colin Baker. Because, I mean, this was a much more violent, much more traumatic regeneration. And I really did feel like this is almost like a Colin Baker regeneration, more so than any of the other Doctors that were a bit more peaceful, that seemed to go a bit more smooth. This was definitely much more of a traumatic mind mess on the Doctor than his previous regenerations, except for maybe the Gauntlet one.
I'd argue that, but then we start going into the history of the show and Classic Who. The other thing is, along with this, I kind of have to wonder who the audience is with this. There's 3 parts to this, and I'm trying with the time constraints.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a very dark episode, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
But there were some moments of high slapstick, which I really did not like the first time I saw it. But then I saw it in an audience filled with children, and the children were laughing, and I go, okay. I keep on forgetting that I am an old man, and the show is not necessarily for me. It is for families.
Yeah.
But if it is for families, I don't think all the sexual references went over their head in this episode. I don't think that, I understand things being scary news. I just wonder who they think their audience is. Okay, so.
Well, interesting thing you talk about the violence is they actually, one of the groups brought up, is Doctor Who too violent for our kids now? And honestly, I would say no. That's just my own personal thing, but it's interesting that you would bring up, the violence and stuff like that, and even the sexuality, which could have been over their heads. Yes, was it not? Who knows? I kind of like that little twinge of seeing sexuality in the show when it isn't portrayed by the Doctor.
Okay, it's okay, good. So let's go on to that real quick.
Yeah.
We have a Doctor who's not supposed to be flirty anymore,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so who, in the very beginning of the episode, I feel like he is doing what most good Doctor actors do, is kind of act like other players.
Yeah.
So, there's definitely a Matt Smith moment. There's some fantastic Tennant moments.
Oh, especially with the Scottish accent,
With
where
the
he's
Scottish
actually
accent.
talking like Tennant would in
Yes.
his real voice. Yeah.
Oh, I'm Scottish.
Yeah.
He's actually said a little like Billy Connolly in there. But yes. Oh, by the way, the bum. I know you know. I know.
Yeah.
The bum is played by Brian Miller in the alleyway scene. That almost Shakespearean alleyway scene. Who is Elizabeth Sladen's husband, widower, right? I guess I don't know how that works. Sad face.
Awesome.
And again, so comparing Jenna Coleman to it. God, I don't even. There's so much going on. You know what? If you have any questions about what I felt about this, there's a lot going on with both sexuality, religion, the
Here's the deal.
viewership.
When I get back from DragonCon, we'll do a second episode.
Okay,
to
let's do it.
finish stuff up with this, just because there is so much. We
There
are under
is.
a time constraint.
It's a longer episode.
It was a good episode. It sets
Good
up
episode.
sets up the rest of the series. Let's hold off on the ugly so we can really get into it. Because I really do want to hit on some predictions, especially like who is Missy? Where do we think the show's going?
Okay, Missy, you want to talk about Missy?
I really want to talk about Missy.
All right. So obviously at the end of the episode, we see. Oh my goodness, I forgot the actress's name now. I keep on wanting to say her name is Kylie Hawes, but that's Mrs. Delphlox. We know, based off of the titles that we got, we know that we're going to see Heaven again.
Yes.
If you didn't see those episodes, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but we are going to see Heaven again. This could very well be our big bad. The question is, who is Missy? With top five guesses, likely to most likely.
Oh.
Who do you think the most? I'll go ahead and go first.
Yeah.
I think most likely, Missy is a character who we've never seen before. That's actually who I'm hoping, because I like the creation of new mythology in Doctor Who. I'm hoping number one is someone we haven't seen who is kind of weird.
Okay.
But there are other possibilities with
Yes.
this, and they're way more fun to predict.
Okay. Here is my prediction about who Missy is, and
Yes.
I texted you in the middle of the night when this dawned on me. I think Missy is the moment.
Okay.
I mean, who else has the power to create heaven?
Uh-huh.
Who we haven't seen in over 1,000 years, if you look at continuity-wise.
Uh-huh.
I think, and she's something out of New Who, something that is still a question mark out there. What happens to them after the fact? Just the way she refers to the Doctor as being her boyfriend. I mean, going off of that, the only other form she's ever chosen was Rose.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I really have a feeling that Missy is the moment, because we need that wrapped up. We need to know what happened to the moment, and I know that's probably the story that Moffat wants to tell because that was his thing.
Sure. I think, it didn't even occur to me, but I think that's a really good choice. One, because far more likely the general populace has seen the Day of the Doctor, so having a character that's that close in continuity would work. I also agree with the computer aspect of it. To go along with that, I think we should potentially look at the possibility that Missy is an amalgamation of the Tasha Lem River Song Cow computer program. Way back when it was introduced, the Papal Mainframe was introduced in A Good Man Goes to War. I said, oh, Papal Mainframe's got to be River Song. Way back when, computer female, it's great. We make the assumption that Half-Faced Man, by the way, whoever you are who acted it, you did a great job. I know I already said that, but I want to reiterate, that was a hard part to play. Really well done, like bravo. But if he died, and he has to, because he's a node and everyone else passed out, if he died, to bring him back would require something. Something along, so that's great. Other possibilities. We would be remiss if we didn't say the Ronnie, right?
Yeah, but like
everyone else going to do
that.
Yeah,
but like I said, because Big Finish has her, I just don't think they're going to step on those toes yet. I think they're going to wait and see how well the Ronnie does in Big Finish audio. Then they might bring her into it.
Okay, how likely are we about to see a female master then?
I would like to answer that question, but I can't until after you see the second episode.
Oh, right. He's already seen the second episode, all right? Because he's going to Dragon Con, even though Dragon Con, by the way, has announced that they are going to be showing it there.
Yeah, but with my schedule,
you're not
I'm not going to have a chance to see it.
Okay. Oh, so annoying that you have this insider information and I don't. Okay. Then other possible things. You had mentioned...
I think it would be cool, Evil Romana. It's something we haven't seen. But it would kind of be cool to see a good character go bad. We know that she's had a hard time. They follow the continuity that happened in the Big Finish audios.
Where she was president of Gallifrey.
Gallifrey and stuff like that, where she's not anymore. Or where she's trapped in East Space. But, Moffat sort of said that Big Finish is pretty much continuity now at this point. So, it would kind of be really cool. She finally snapped. She finally had it. Who has to say that every reincarnation of a Doctor or a Time Lord has to be good? We know the Valiant's coming.
Sure.
So who's not to say that Romana doesn't have an evil side to her?
Absolutely.
Oh my God! It just hit me. What if this is not another take on the Black Guardian?
It's possible.
She's dressed in black.
She is dressed in black, and her character's name, even though she is Missy, she is also the Guardian of the Neither Realm.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so good. I'm glad you went there. That would be fun. If you know classic Who, the Black Guardian and the White Guardian are more or less the same character. So then we have the potential, and this is a real stretch. I'm going to go with the one that's also a little more likely after this. There is that potential because he had said that someone from earlier episodes might make making a reappearance, and that's super vague because it could be anybody. I would love to see Capaldi and Donna Noble interact. So what if the Dr. Donna? This is like far left field. Dr. Donna, still affected. Okay, so not very likely. Slightly more likely is Clara from the future. Anyone who stepped into the timeline of a Time Lord. There's a lot of, they refer to her as girlfriend and boyfriend a lot in that episode. They talk about, I'm not your girlfriend, I am your girlfriend, I'm a girlfriend of this big lizard, he calls her sexy. That being said, is that setting us up for 11 episodes down the line where we've almost forgotten that that's being said, like Whovians will forget stuff like that. There we go. There's a bunch of kooky theories. Are we correct in that? Well, it's either all the guesses that we had or the first one, which is something completely new. So yes, we probably are.
Honestly, if I was going to put my money on it, it's either something completely new or it's the moment. I could be wrong before, but I have guessed Moffat in the past.
I think moment is an excellent
guess.
I really want to go on all this other stuff.
Yes, so but don't worry. We will do a second episode.
Do we have time to briefly talk about what we saw in the theater? Extra. Here's what we saw extra. We get a fun little thing with Strax. It's about 10 minutes long. He goes over the entirety of the Doctors. Probably the funniest thing in the entire theater.
Which is very similar to the thing that we had
absolutely
before, which was them going through the entire
Doctor's file. Yes. Calls them all girls. Really just the crack at Davison and the crack at Colin Baker,
Yeah.
both I think were the funniest parts.
Yeah.
At the end, we got Doctor Who Extra, which is a fine story. It's not Doctor Who Confidential. The worst part about it is it's got one of those chipper little British narrators talking. Will we have the Doctor? Let's find out next time. So
Well, here's my thing: is I wonder if we got an abbreviated version.
we may have. Do we have time to talk about the opening title sequence and the closing title sequence?
Oh God, I hate the opening title sequence. I love the closing title sequence. That is what I have to say on that.
I went, okay, the Cloister Bell's running. Billy Honshaw, I went to 30, 40 minutes ago and watched your original pitch, the idea for it. I loved it so much better. But the title sequence is something we'll get used to. We know it gets changed. We'll probably 6 episodes from now, we might get a different one. Definitely probably next season. I really want to talk about the opening title music, but we don't have time.
We don't have time. Come see us at Dragon Con, or at least me at Dragon Con, where we will be giving away slips for codes for Doctor Who Legacy. Next time we will either be talking more about Deep Breath or Into the Dialect, but don't worry, we are going to get back to Deep Breath because we need to get back to Deep Breath because there's so much amazing things in there, both good and bad.
Let's do both. Let's start up with finishing up Deep Breath and going into the
That
Dalek.
works. So until next time, this is GPR signing off. Peace!